And this is KPFK Los Angeles, your community radio station, your listener sponsored radio station. My name is Sylvester Rivers, aka Sly Rivers, and we are live today. And we're also broadcasting live on KPFK's YouTube channel. How about that? Thanks to Charlie. So that was Malcolm X. By the way, Malcolm X's birthday is May 19th, coming up this May 19th this year, 2025. This is centennial 100th anniversary. We're working on having a huge Pacifica celebration for that. As you know, if you listen to this station, we had whole days of Malcolm X, not just his speeches, but his speeches and all kinds of stuff, um, analysis of his teachings and what it means today. And since this is a listener sponsored radio station, by the way, so May 19th, hold that date. We're working on it. Hopefully, it will happen and it will be all the Pacifica or most of the Pacifica stations doing a network wide commensuration or celebration of the teachings of Malcolm X, May 19th, 2025. In the meantime, we are in our fund drive, and we do have some of the Malcolm X speeches that you can get by calling our number and subscribing. Our goal today is $500. Yes, for those of you who already subscribed and did something, just throw out $10. So we just need about 25, 50 of you, $20 to get this over the hump. It's very important because everything is about dollars these days. So 818 985 5735 to call and get this package. We have a package for $100. Malcolm X, a lot of his speeches, Black Panthers, a lot of their speeches, Jimi Hendrix. And if you listen to this show, Cut to the Chase, we interviewed some ex-Black Panthers. One, oh my God, it was so amazing. He talked about him hijacking a plane to Cuba, only on KPFK. And Sister Jonina, who was the editor of the Black Panther paper here on Cape, you didn't hear that anywhere else, and you didn't hear it any other show except Cut to the Chase. And today, by the way, is we're not buying today. Yes, we're not just looking at information, we're looking at solutions. There's a whole campaign around, people have been texting me, don't buy anything today. Okay, that does not include subscribing to KPFK. We're talking about corporate America. So there's a buyout today. This is February 28th. There's a buyout. Don't go into any corporate store, any chain. If you have to do something, put a donation to KPFK because you're not going to buy it today. All right. So that's very important today. I maintain that we do like the Montgomery boycott and don't do it for a year. 818-985-5735 to donate to KPFK. And this is a tax write-off, by the way. And we're going to take open phones, too, at the end of our time is so short. But we're going to go in. Let's just keep rolling. I hope I didn't forget anything as I'm going through this rant. So we're going to start out with Charlie is our operations director. He's been really looking at this halftime show. I did a program on, you can go to the archives, kpfk.org, not this past Saturday, but at 10 a.m. on Conversation Piece. We did some conversations, but it's still going on because it went over a lot of people's head, including mine. So Charlie had sent me this, and then we're going to play it now. This is about the halftime show and what a lot of us, maybe not you, but maybe me and some of you, didn't get. 818-985-5735. We'll be taking calls too, so call in and talk to us. Give us your solutions, your ideas, etc. Let's go to right now the intro. Hit it. That'd be number 2.
Kendrick Lamar's halftime show was the most watched performance in the history of the game, with 133.5 million people tuning in. That is a larger audience than the Super Bowl game itself. So much for those on the right claiming people turn the TV off. No, they say turn the TV off. And for those keeping
No need to be humble. That's Joy Reid. Of course, she just got fired. I think was it MSNBC or CNN? She just got fired. I think MSNBC. Yeah, she's out. They said the ratings were down. There's a lot of speculations on why. She's done some things that I don't agree with, but that's Joy Reid. And she talked about the impact of the numbers and this Kendrick's show. 818-985-5735. This is going to be an analysis of that halftime show. So listen carefully, because that's probably the most of 2025, the most talked about incident that we've seen, and it just blew me away, and it went over a lot of our heads, but only KPFK that I know of, and specifically Cut to the Chase, has been talking about it. So let's go to this analysis of the Kendrick Lamar halftime show. 818-985-5735. If you want to comment afterwards, and we're going to roll with it.
Super Bowl halftime show ever. And for a lot of people, that was the problem. Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance was a statement. In an era where America is teetering on the edge of cultural war, where Black art and activism are under constant scrutiny and attack,
I watched the
Kendrick
halftime
stepped
show and
onto
got
the
homesick.
biggest stage in sports and delivered
From Oakland.
Black, politically charged and hip-hop infused halftime show the Super Bowl has ever seen. Now, none other than the president, Donald Trump, was delivering a show packed
I
with
did 20 years in
symbolism that
Chino
cuts deep
State Prison.
into the racial and social divide in America. Some people calling this the worst halftime show ever, and maybe that's because Kendrick didn't just do the hits like everybody wanted, he did the work. A lot of people miss the symbolism, so today we're breaking down every moment, every message, and why this performance wasn't just historic, it was necessary. Before we even get into the show, we see the whole stadium was lit up like a big red button, which references Kendrick's beef with Drake. Now, the big red button is a symbol of power, destruction, or initiating something major like a missile or a bomb. Now, there's a few different theories going around for what this actually means. There is the Drake diss theory. One of Drake's diss tracks was called First Person Shooter, where he brags, "I'm as big as the Super Bowl." And that wasn't the only piece of symbolism at the very beginning of the show. The stage lit up with controller buttons: square, triangle, cross, and circle, just like a PlayStation controller. Last theory is life as a rigged game. According to the halftime show art director Shelley Rogers, the symbols were Kendrick's idea, meant to represent his journey through the American dream, but as a Black man. Now, I had a look on BET, and they took this even further, calling the PlayStation imagery a symbol of how Black culture is entertainment for America, but also controlled, manipulated, and commodified. And think about it. Gaming is about control. Who holds the controller? Who sets the rules? Who gets to play? Kendrick is using these symbols, exposing the system. Black artists create the culture, yet they rarely own the game. And this is a wider piece of symbolism around him navigating the world as a Black man and the games that he has to play in order to fit into that system. Then we go into one of my favorite pieces of symbolism in the performance. We have the Black Uncle Sam, played by Samuel Jackson, who was the perfect casting for this role, taking the theory of life as a rigged game for Black people even further. Sam says, "Welcome to the American game," a direct call out to the great American dream and navigating it like a Black man or a Black person. Kendrick Lamar flipped Uncle Sam into a minstrel. He steps into this minstrel-like role, embodying the American entertainment industry's policing of Black expression. Uncle Sam has always demanded everything from Black America: labor, culture, talent, votes, while giving little in return that shaped him. For a moment, the performance stops and Kendrick throws down this bar: "The revolution will be televised. You got the right time, but the wrong guy." He flips Jill Scott Heron's iconic phrase to declare that this time, Black resistance will be and America has to watch. Which is a really powerful move considering that President Donald Trump was actually watching, highlighting Kendrick's disapproval of the administration's policies and actions. By saying he's the wrong guy, Kendrick is acknowledging the obvious. He's not the usual pop-friendly Super Bowl act, and he's also playing into a lot of the criticisms around him actually performing at the Super Bowl. But in a time where racial tensions are high and America feels more divided than ever, he's exactly who needs to be on that stage, whether the audience is ready for it or not. After this, he launches into Squabble Up, which I think is kind of like Kendrick saying that he's ready to throw some hands. He's putting up a fight in this performance. He's showing that he is not backing down. He is in the ring and he is ready to squabble up. And those dancers from before are all in different corners of the stage, split up into their different colors, red, blue, and white. Now, as well as this being symbolism for the American flag and how Black people or American people as a whole are divided, it could also be a nod to how Black people are specifically divided into the Bloods and the Crips, especially with the colors there. When you think of the song playing, Squabble Up, the symbolism around this becomes stronger. But there's also another meaning to this that I will go into a bit later. Now, after this, Black Uncle Sam comes back and he says this is too loud, too reckless, and too ghetto. And he's not just speaking as a character, as Uncle Sam. He is the voice of mainstream America, the industry, the media, the establishment, who are always trying to keep Black people and Black artistry within acceptable limits. It's identity politics, the model minority. It's almost like he's saying, wait, hold up. That's not how you play the game. That's not how we want you to play the game. And after the performance, what he says is literally how people criticized his performance. Don't dim our light. Stay in your lane. But let's go more into this American flag symbolism, because these dancers are dressed in red, white, and blue, and they flood the stage forming an American flag. And at the center of this American flag, Kendrick stands, splitting them in two. And we see this biblical imagery that Kendrick actually does a lot, and he actually did in the Not Like Us music video. It's a simple but powerful metaphor. America's racial and political divide. Country built on freedom, yet still struggling with who actually gets to be free. A land of opportunity, yet one where Black culture is celebrated, but Black people aren't always respected. The dancers move in chaos and their colors shuffle together, again reinforcing the symbolism of division. But this could also be a hint at something more hopeful, unity, a reminder that even in disorder, there is connection. And at a time where the nation feels more fractured and divided than ever, Kendrick is using the biggest stage in America to say that this country has never been as united as it claims to be, but there still might be some hope that we can come together. So when that song ends, we see the lights in the crowd come up, kind of like stars, and they spell out warning, wrong way. And this is another video game reference, especially in like these choose your adventure games or in video games in general. If you go the wrong way, it kind of directs you the right way to go and kind of gives you these subliminal cues on how to play the game the right way. And this could also be a criticism of the establishment in America right now and Trump's regime, or the fact that much of the back half of his set carried on and ultimately concluded the beef with Drake. Then the stage transforms into this street scene and we see steel and concrete everywhere. Now this is a nod to Compton, his home, and perhaps every city where poor Black communities struggle, survive, and thrive. But this imagery also looks a lot like Kendrick Lamar's 2015 All Right video, where Kendrick stood on a street light before being shot by police. Now, this is a direct callback to systemic racism, police brutality, and the reality of Black life in America. The dancers also form the shape of a missile or a bullet in this, which further reinforces this theme and is a reflection of police brutality and how America does not protect Black people. Now, after this, Uncle Sam comes back and condemns Kendrick and says he's using cheat codes because he brought his homeboys, and he deducts a point of life in his game. And This could symbolize a lot of things, but I think that it talks about how society, especially systemic forces like the government, aka Uncle Sam, punish Black success and community support. This could be a shout out to the Tulsa massacre in Black Wall Street, where Black people actually managed to build community and come together and create this almost utopia, and it was shut down, burned down, and everyone was basically massacred for it. This idea of using cheat codes suggests that Kendrick is leaning on his people, his friends, his culture, his roots, and that's seen as an unfair advantage, even though in reality, community is a core part of survival and success. It's also a subtle dig to all of the recent attacks on DEI from the Trump administration. By deducting a point of life in his game, it reflects how Black people are often penalized for working together, whether it's through redlining, mass incarceration, or other systemic barriers meant to keep them from advancing. It's a critique on how the system often rigs this game of life, making it nearly impossible to win without consequences. He's also performing on different buttons across the stage. He moves across them, and this could be a reference to pushing people's buttons during this performance, or being part of a rigged game where other people press the buttons in his life, carrying on that PlayStation gaming symbolism. And he continues to push buttons in the performance by teasing "Not Like Us" multiple times. Playing into the Super Bowl's love for big moments and spectacle. He even directly acknowledges the controversy, smirking, "You know people like to sue," nodding to Drake's threats to sue him over performing a song that holds him a PDF file. And when he does this, Uncle Sam comes back saying, "Oh, you done lost your mind." And this is where the Drake beef starts to make sense in a wider context, because Kendrick Lamar's core criticism of Drake was that he is essentially a minstrel cosplaying Black culture and all the worst parts of Black culture and operating as an object and a minstrel of the machine to project these stereotypes and everything the system wants you to believe about Black people, to keep Black people down. He's showing how, in comparison, Kendrick is the opposite of this, and the industry expected him to play it safe and stick to the classics of the Super Bowl like all the other artists, especially with all these lawsuit threats from Drake's team, co-wanted. And then Kendrick interjects and interrupts him, and he says a couple of important lines here, but I'm going to focus on this 40 acres and a mule line. Now, if you don't know, 40 acres and a mule is what slaves were given as compensation when they were set free. Referencing this 40 acres and a mule in a Super Bowl performance ties in directly to the ongoing conversation about reparations, systemic oppression, and the broken promises to Black Americans. Originally promised to formerly enslaved people as compensation for their forced labor, this land was later taken back, leaving Black families without the economic foundation that they were actually owed. And by invoking a symbol like this on such a massive stage, Kendrick is reminding America of its unfinished business, how Black people built this country but were never truly compensated for the loss that it took to get there, and how that legacy of economic disparity still exists today. But I think it is also a wider conversation about what is happening in America. It's time to stop watching and start doing. It's time to wake up and stop sitting in this state of paralysis and apathy and actually get up and fight for the country that you want to live in. And at the end of the performance, now all the buttons are lit up on the stage. And for the first time, all dancers are on the buttons at the same time, showing that maybe we might have more power than we think in this game of life as Black people. Fighting for survival, all for the entertainment of the ruling class. Now let's take that imagery and place it on an NFL field, a space controlled by billionaire owners, most of them white, most of them conservative, and in some cases, literal Trump supporters. And then there's Donald Trump himself, whose presence looms over this league as an extension of his power, his values, and his America. The message: the system is designed to entertain the wealthy at the expense of the player. And that brings me on to the next bit of symbolism that you can infer here. The field itself was set up to look like a prison yard, again because the NFL has long been compared to modern day slavery, like the industrial prison complex. Look it up, it's a great rabbit hole. A lot of people, including myself, missed the prison-like uniforms that the dancers were wearing. And then when you look at the female dancers, it gets really interesting because usually at events like this, women are in hypersexualized outfits, tight bodysuits, short skirts, heels. But here, the performers were fully covered. Loose pants, no flashy skin tight fabric. And this is because Kendrick is stripping away the usual distractions. He's forcing us to focus on something deeper, something more important than just entertainment. Then we get to the choreography. So the dancers are circling around this circle button, a move that is a nod to nose to the grindstone. They're going in circles, blindly following each other. And this shows the endless cycle of survival, of routine, and being trapped in a system that isn't built for you to win. It's the perfect way to set the tone for the rest of the performance because before Kendrick even opens his mouth, we're already in the middle of a message about oppression, control, and the illusion of choice. And that's just the beginning. I wanted to go back to this right time, wrong guy line. The revolution about to be televised, you pick the right time and the wrong guy. Which feels like classic Kendrick, layered, sharp, and meant to hit multiple levels. Now, there's a few different meanings to this one. On the surface, Kendrick could be talking about himself, the wrong guy for a sanitized, feel-good halftime show. The NFL picked Kendrick, but they got the version of him that tells the truth. Not what they wanted to hear. They got an artist who would turn one of the world's biggest stages into a protest rather than a spectacle. But when you zoom out, it feels even bigger because with Trump sitting in the audience, this line could also be a direct shot at him. When you look at right time, a time when America desperately needs unity, justice, and real leadership. Wrong guy, a leader who has stoked division, embraced white supremacy, and ignored the struggles of Black and marginalized communities, and done a lot worse, to be honest. This would be Kendrick's warning to America. You picked the wrong guy before, and look where it's gotten you. If you don't change course, the game really will be over. And in just one line, Kendrick takes out two systems at once. The NFL for trying to profit from Black culture while suppressing Black voices, and America for choosing power over justice and division over unity. It's a line that hits on every level, personal, political, and cultural, just like Kendrick always does. Another thing I missed in this part is one of the most chilling and powerful moments of Kendrick's performance, when all the dancers lie flat on the ground, evoking the image of chalk outlines on the pavement, a haunting symbol of Black lives lost to violence, police brutality, and systemic injustice. Now, this moment was a stark reminder of the reality behind the headlines, the bodies of Black men and women left in the streets after being killed by police. Next, I want to take a closer look at Uncle Ruckus over here. Samuel Jackson's role is even more significant when you realize that he has a deep history as an activist and supporter of the Black Panther Party. He even worked with Martin Luther King Jr. He spent his whole life fighting against the system that Kendrick raps about. Samuel's life has been defined by standing up to injustice and white supremacy, making his participation more than just a celebrity cameo. It was the passing of a torch from one generation of Black resistance to the next. Now, I didn't actually go into this in the first video because I thought that it was pretty common knowledge, but I know Uncle Sam from World War II American war propaganda. Uncle Sam is a personification of the US government and was a big propaganda instrument during World War II. Originally popularized during World War I, the famous I Want You US Army poster by artist James Montgomery Flagg became one of the most recognizable recruitment tools in American history. The image of the stern finger-pointing Uncle Sam was designed to evoke a personal sense of duty and patriotism, pressuring young men to enlist into the army. This use of direct address, I want you, is a classic propaganda technique, making the audience feel individually called to action. Now, Uncle Sam remained a potent symbol during World War II, representing the draft and rallying support for the war effort. Now, during this time, propaganda was everywhere. Posters, radio, films, urging Americans to buy war bonds, conserve resources, and support. With his top hat and his patriotic colors,
Yes.
became shorthand
Some
for
information on the
government's
pitch.
demands and expectations of its citizens. Uncle Sam's influence also extends beyond just wartime. Over the decades, he's been used in campaigns about everything from taxes to public health, always representing the voice of authority. So when Kendrick invokes symbols like Uncle Sam, he's tapping into that rich history of propaganda and power, reminding us that the same symbols used to promote war and patriotism can also be flipped to challenge authority and
818-985-5735 to subscribe to KPFK, or hit option 2. You can also make a comment, call for your comments. Same number, 818-985-5735 for your comments. Because we have to raise money, because I was reprimanded for not fundraising when I did my other program. Because I look at content, it's difficult to balance, to make money and to give you content. So help me out, folks, and call in and subscribe. If you've already subscribed, just throw in $10. It won't hurt, because this is a boycott buying day, so you can do it. That money you would have spent somewhere else, you can do it here. 818-985-5735. Just a couple other comments on this program. I noticed that it was somewhat racialized too. Your president, Donald Trump, decided he would go with the Kansas City Chiefs because the quarterback's wife is a big Trump supporter and a big MAGA supporter. So he said, I'm going with her. I love her. She loves me and she loves MAGA. But now here's the thing. If we look at 1932, the Olympics in Germany, there was this man named Hitler who was a white supremacist. And this brother by the name of Jesse Owens was winning all the events. So Hitler stood up and walked out of the stadium. I said, this is the same thing that happened in this 2025 Super Bowl. Trump was going for the Kansas City Chiefs. They were getting their behinds whooped. And he stood up. And not only that, he said he loved Mahomes' wife. She loves Megan. He loves him. He didn't. And then the other quarterback, he didn't really acknowledge or care that Trump was in the audience. So at halftime, guess what Trump did? He got up and walked out. I said, this is similar to the 1932 Olympics when Hitler walked out, the 2025 Super Bowl when Trump walked out, because it was racialized. It was racialized. Yes, it was. 818-985-5735. We're coming down to the end of this program. Well, boy, I'm telling you, we need more time. I don't know if we're going to be able to play the next guy. Then they also mentioned Tulsa, Greenwood. Last night I had the privilege of recording a panel talking about the Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma genocide, where thousands of Black people were killed. There's a few surviving members of that. So we'll play that on this station later. That's what KPFK does. 818-985-5735. Help me out, y'all. Help me out before they throw me out. 818-985-5735. Hit option 1 to, if you have time to get on there. Option 2 to subscribe. You can get that amount. How much time we have left, Gary? Probably none. 2 minutes. Oh my goodness. 2 minutes to do. So we won't be able to play next. We have some stuff coming up. I have some stuff. I'm out there working. Jeffrey Sachs. Oh my God. He gave a great speech. I could play the whole thing, but I can't. I even had a snippet. I can't play it. So it'll be next week, or I might play the panel on Greenwood, what they're doing in Greenwood to try to get reparations for those folks who were burnt down and killed. Now, this is an amazing speech by Jeffrey Sachs, and I hope to play most of it, with the time I have next week, or the other thing. He breaks it down. He breaks it down so eloquently. You only hear that on KPFK, and I would argue that on Cut to the Chase, which you're listening to now, is unique to bring you this stuff, because we get alternative views. But that's what KPFK is. I don't agree with everything. You don't have to, but at least I give you an alternative view. 818-985-5735. If you're calling to subscribe, hit option 2. We don't have more time to go on the air. Go ahead, Gary. Take it away.
Yes, call now, folks, for Cut to the Chase, 818-985-5735. Sylvester Rivers here, taking on topics that most mainstream media don't want to get in depth with. 818-985-5735. And we do have 2 pledges that came in so far for Cut to the Chase. They were both for $100 pledges. So we have $200 on the table. And if we can get another couple of you to go ahead and pledge. We do have a $500 goal. So if we could get at least 3 of you to pledge $100 or 6 of you to pledge $50, we can reach our goal for Cut to the Chase and what's so